Good evening, dear respected colleagues from Bangladesh and around the globe who are joining the Project DPro study circle. And already we have finished till page number 63. I hope that from today, if we keep continue by June 15, we can finish the whole book so that we can have a review session where we can find ourselves more comfortable and confident. So let's start from page 64. As we were earlier talking about the logical framework, and it is discussed that let me link with the previous discussion. Logical framework is a 4-4 diagram where there is a table, and the table has 4 columns and 4 rows, and the columns are called as vertical logic and the horizontal rows are called as horizontal logic. In a project management structure, if we can hold the horizontal logics and the vertical logics are true, it means the project is successful. So let us start from the table. I think I need to make it a bit bigger. I can make it more big. So yes, okay, now it's much more clear and visible. So the table means the logical framework table. So the horizontal logics are project description or statement, indicators, which are called as verifiable indicator or objectively verifiable indicator, OVI. Simply, in many cases, we use the term indicator as we become more familiar and with the definition of this term and also the implication of this term and how does it work in a logical framework table. Then the means of verification, MOV. In some cases, we replace this term with the term SOI, source of information, or then assumptions. So these are the vertical logics. Then the horizontal logics are the project goal, the project outcome, the outputs, and the activities. The project goals is the goal of the project, the main objective of the project, then the outcomes, then the outputs, then the activities. Now, how one vertical logic makes another logic true, and by holding true, it really reaches the topmost logic of a logical framework. So the lowest logic of this framework is the activities, the logics of the activities. So if inputs are provided, resources are provided, then the activities can be conducted. Okay. Then outputs can be produced. If the activities are conducted, then outputs can be produced. If the outputs are produced, then the outcomes can occur. If the outcomes occur, then this should contribute to the overall goal. Means the project objective has been achieved. According to the intervention identified and defined using the current and future state analysis, the vertical logic of our Delta River latrine project may look something like what is listed. This is not a comprehensive description of the objectives by any means, but is provided as an example to illustrate the if-then relationship of our project. Now, let us see some vertical logics from the Delta River latrine project. We can see it from two angles. The first angle is from bottom to top, as the logics are true or need to be made true from the bottom to up. If these three activities are conducted, activity 1.1.1 is latrine specification and locations are designed, confirmed in coordination with the engineering team. Activity 2, build the latrine cap structure. Activity 3, install the latrine structure and conduct a quality check. So these three activities are the part of output 1.1. Means quality latrines are constructed. If I wants to finish or achieve or hold true the output number 1.1, so I need to finish these three activities. If I finish these three activities, so I hold output number 1.1 true. Now, outputs. Output 1 is quality latrines are constructed. Output 1.2 means 2 is local municipality trained on the maintenance of the latrine. 3, Delta River community advocates trained on value and use of latrines. If these three outputs are achieved, obviously we should note that output 2 has some activities. Those are not listed here. Output 3 has also some activities. Okay. If, as it is given, the activities of the output 1, like this way, if the activities of output 2 is achieved, if the activities of output 3 are achieved, then it means that all the activities of all the outputs are achieved. If the outputs are achieved, then the outcome is taking place. It's being occurred. Means improved access to quality latrines for the Delta River community means the accessibility of the Delta River community people to quality latrines have been improved. Now, as outcome is achieved, means the goal is achieved to improve the quality of river water in the Delta River. It's obvious, and we have to think, and we have to take note that one goal can have one outcome or more outcomes. So this is the vertical logic of the logical framework. Now we are going ahead slowly. Having defined the project goal, outcomes, outputs, and activities, the next question posed is, what could potentially usually outside the project's control, interfere with the project's vertical logic? At each level of the logical framework, there are external factors that may affect the success of the project. These are the assumptions. Assumptions complete the horizontal logic of the logical framework and must remain true in order for the activities to lead to the outputs and the outputs to lead to the outcomes. And assumption is a hypothesis about necessary conditions, both internal and external, identified in a design to ensure that the presumed cause and effect relationships function as expected and that planned activities will produce expected results. Now let's together see the horizontal logics. Colleagues, I have we can't see the literature of the first row, but we can see the main thing. I'm sorry that we have election campaign going on in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. So you will listen some slogans and some publicity of the election candidates. Okay. I hope we can avoid it with our attention. Now, let's see. If the assumption in activities level are held true, then the output will be achieved. If the assumptions in the output level hold true, outcomes can be achieved. If the assumptions in outcome level can hold true, the goal will be achieved. If some example, it is important to really think about the assumptions in the logical frame. If these conditions do not hold true, the success of your project will be compromised. Assumptions are usually positively phrased and are directly related to your project activities, outputs, outcomes, and goals. The assumptions are also a great way to start thinking about the risks in your project. Think of them as an if and then relationship. If we complete our outputs and our assumptions hold true, then we will achieve our outcomes. So, dear colleagues, there is a life-related example. Now, Let's think about the output level and outcome level. Just think about an agriculture project where there is an activity of seed distribution and cultivation, and there's an assumption that the output is farmers provided with quality barley seeds to plant. So the assumption is weather conditions remain favorable for seed germination. There are no droughts or floods. Because suppose the barley seeds have been distributed, but there is a drought or flood or flash flood. So the barley seeds cannot be germinated, or if it is germinated, it will wash away, or it will be dried. So the project outcome, which is targeting to ensure that economic empowerment is happening among the farmers through barley crop yields. So crop yielding will not happen if there is a drought or a flood. So the output only can be, output is done in a sense that the seed distribution is done. But if there is a drought or floods, it will not be achieved. Means we cannot reach the outcome level. So if the assumption holds true that there is no drought and flood, and weather is good for germination, so we can achieve the outcome. Then let's go forward with another example. This is also an outcome level example. So think about malnutrition reduction or control project where there is an output there. Children are provided with 3 nutritionally complete meals per day. So children have been provided 3 nutritionally complete meals per day for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. But the children has a viral infection, or there are some other illnesses that stops them absorbing the nutrients. Maybe they had filariasis, they had another underlying health conditions that prevent them from absorbing the nutrients. So the outcome is improved nutrition for the most vulnerable children. So their nutritional status will not be improved as nutrients have not been absorbed by them. So it doesn't help them improve their nutritional condition. So the assumption that the output have been achieved and the assumption have been held true, so only the outcome will be achieved. It is especially important to focus on the assumptions at the output and outcome levels in the logical framework. The assumptions found at these levels from the foundation of the logic of the project intervention. It is there here that The connection is made between the deliverables produced at the outputs level and the social change that is desired at the outcome level. If we go back to our Delta River latrine building project, the outputs of the project are quality latrines are constructed, local municipality is trained on the maintenance of the latrine, local community advocates are trained on the value and use of the latrines. The assumption at the output level is that increased availability of latrines and increased awareness of latrines will significantly increase the use of latrines, thereby improving the water quality and health of the community. After objectives have been established and associated risks and assumptions identified, the final element of the logical framework is the indicators of achievement and means of verification for each level of the logical framework. An indicator is a quantitative or qualitative measure used to describe change. For the indicator to measure change, it must have a baseline, a measure or description of current performance of the entity, and/or a comparator as an initial reference point. Baselines must be defined at or near the beginning of a project. Performance during project implementation is measured against a target, the improvements, change, or achievement expected to happen during project implementation, taking into account the baseline. Indicators depict the extent to which a project is accomplishing its planned inputs, outputs, outcomes, and goals. They communicate in specific, measurable terms the performance to be achieved at each level of change. Indicators also help to remove vague and imprecise statements about what can be expected from project interventions. So there is a guide to write statements for each level, especially for the indicators. So for goal, the ultimate objective or highest end result or impact to which the project contributes. And to write an indicator statement for goal level is to be that measures transformation, sustainability, livelihood, and well-being. And it measures the long-term impacts, and it can be not specific to a single project. And many a times we will see that the goal level indicators are more aligned with program, subsector, sector level, or it addresses a wider spectrum of community. And it wants to see, or it caps the transformation, sustainability, livelihood, and well-being through the project activities. Outcomes Outcomes are the project expectation, and it wants to accomplish at the beneficiary level, and it aggregates and help bring about accomplishment of goals and impact over time. Outcomes are the contributor to the goal, and it creates jointly or collectively to bring the long-term change and to leave long-term wider impact in program level, in subsector level, sector level, in a wider community level. And indicators at this level are crucial, but can be more difficult to determine. Change is sought among extended beneficiaries, target populations, collaborating institutions, and local partners. Examples: use of knowledge and skills in actual practice over time, increased access, reduced malnutrition, improved incomes, and improved yields. So the statements addresses really and in many cases use the term increased, improved, reduced, these type of terms, and it wants to see the use of knowledge and skills in actual practice over time is for a longer period of time, and it brings kind of changes that can have a long-term impact, and it contributes to the goal level. In some cases we can say that a project has one outcome, and then one outcome is contributing the achievement of the goal, and some other projects can have many other outcomes that helps achieving one goal. Okay, now output. Outputs are the tangible deliverables resulting from project activities and which are largely under project management's control that aggregate and contributes to outcomes. Indicators at this level are easier to specify than at the outcome level because they represent tangible goals and services to be delivered by the project. All outputs have to be accomplished by the end of the project's implementation period and according to the schedule included in the project plan. Examples: people trained with increased knowledge and skill, quality roads built, roads delivered, services performed. So the things are like these, and it's really measurable and also it's tangible. Deliverables are there. Activities, the actions taken through which inputs are mobilized to produce deliverables, for which staff can be held accountable and which, when aggregated, produce outputs. Not all development organizations develop indicators at the activity level. Indicators at this level are almost directly related to the description of the activity itself. Examples include staff activities, actual expenditures compared to budget, use of equipment, training components, and construction components. So now we shall talk about developing smart indicator. When developing indicators, when the norm is to use smart criteria to guide performance indicator conceptualization. SMART is an acronym with the following meaning. S, specific. Indicators must be specific and focus on the change that is expected to at each level. What or who is changing? Measurable. the indicator must be quantifiable and measurable. Can the indicator be assessed objectively or independent quantity? The expected numerical representation of what is to be achieved. Quality, the narrative or pictorial description of the expected achievements. Location, the geographic boundary of the expected achievements. Achievable, indicators must be attainable within the constraints of the project triangle. We talked about the project 3 constraints earlier. So the constraints are budget or resources, cost, time, budget, scope, quality. So these are the constraints. Relevant indicators must accurately measure the change the project aspires to generate. Thus, the indicator are practical and cost-effective. They measure the outputs, outcomes, and all goal. Time-bound, the indicator should identify a specific time and date. By when will the indicator be achieved? Can the indicator be achieved within the established time frame? Indicator disaggregation. Disaggregation of indicators is when you break the indicators into categories for a more robust analysis. Some examples of how indicators can be disaggregated are by gender, geographic location, socioeconomic status, and age group. Keep in mind that the disaggregation is intended to provide a better understanding of the changes happening at the level of each category. The disaggregation will depend on the indicator and what kind of information is required for a deeper analysis, taking our Delta River latrine building project, for example. One of the indicators at the outcome level is the % increase in the use of latrines by the end of the project in comparison with before the project. It may be beneficial to disaggregate this indicator by gender and age group to examine if any of these groups, man or woman, young, middle-aged, elderly, are not using the latrine. Means of verification are the sources from where we get the information to measure our indicators. Means of verification should be cost-effective and should directly measure the indicators. The best advice for indicators and MOV is to keep it simple. The more complex the indicator, the more complex the MOV. When we are making the indicators smart and the means of verification should be simple, because if means of verification is complex, it makes our case more complex to produce the reporting system and to make it a reference in future. So as the means of verifications are the reference to the indicators, if we can make the indicators smart, so means of verification shall be simple. If we can keep it simple, our horizontal logic will be much more easy to compare and to link, as to cross the horizontal logic from the first row to the last row means the goal, outcome, output, and activity row with the assumption row. The indicators and MOVs are the verifying tool to see that the logics are working. So we have to keep means of verification very simple in line with the smart indicators. So now let's see this logical framework, and let me make it smaller for you so that you can see in a full picture on the screen. I need to make it. Okay, so I think you can see the logical framework for Delta River Latrine Construction Project. And let us see from the bottom. So now you see the activities are the latrine specifications, latrine character structure, and store latrine. The inputs are latrine construction materials, wash engineer, training curriculum, latrine maintenance, and legacy materials. So the activities are done, and we have nothing to indicate here. Verification. But now outcomes, outputs. We have three outputs. Quality latrines are constructed. Output 1. Local municipality trained on the maintenance of the latrine. Output 2. Delta River community advocates trained on value and use of latrines. Output 3. Now, so we set three indicators: objectively verifiable, measurable indicator. Now, number one indicator is of latrines constructed within 50 meters of household by the end of phase of 2. So we have the distance, the number, and when the time. And also of municipality staff trained on whole demonstrate knowledge of technical maintenance of the latrines by the end of the project. We have time by the end of the project, who, number of municipality staff, what are their knowledge, the demonstration of knowledge on technical maintenance of latrines. So we have the module, the knowledge base. Then indicator 3, which is a smart indicator of community advocates trained on and demonstrate knowledge of the usage and value of latrines by the end of phase 1. So we have time by the end of phase 1. We have number, measurable, community advocates. We have also scope, means knowledge on usage and value of latrines. So we have a manual from where we can make a questionnaire and we can test that. They got the knowledge. We have also training manuals, training signature sheets and other things. Now, verification tools. How can we verify these indicators have been achieved? We have engineering survey data. We have training attendance sheet and post-assessment, pre-assessment. We have pre and post-assessment of the advocates training. If we can have these three things will allow us to verify that these indicators have been achieved. Now, to help all the things true, we have to make sure that Access to the latrines and awareness of benefits will ensure that the community uses the latrines. If community doesn't use the latrines, we cannot achieve the outcome. We cannot hold our output true. Output should be achieved. We have achieved the output, but assumption should hold true. Municipality staff remain in their position and transfer the knowledge of maintenance to new staff members. If a big portion of municipality staffs are changed or transfer or other reasons, so the cascading of the knowledge and the maintenance of the latrines as per the guidelines and training provided to them will not happen. Then assumption 3 years, community advocates have enough power and influence to convince the community to use latrines. So community advocates, if they can contribute in raising awareness among the community people, and if they have a positive influence to convince them to use the latrines, it can contribute to achieving the ultimate outcome. So if all these things are done in description or statement level, indicators, means of verification, and if the assumptions are hold true, then the outcome will be achieved. Now the outcomes. The outcome is improved access to quality latrines for the Delta River community. Now the indicators are, how can we measure this outcome? Percent of increase in the use of latrines by the end of the project in comparison before the project. So we have a baseline, how many people are using the latrines. And at the end of the project, how many, what percentage of people are using latrins? If we measure it, then we can understand the impact. Percent of community members who express satisfaction with the distance, quality, and condition of the latrine by the end of the project. What percentage of people are expressing satisfaction in terms of distance? Because in the project needs assessment level, we found that the distance between the household and the latrine is so big, and the latrines were not quality, were not constructed with quality, and the conditions were not good. Now, so we had a baseline. Now, at the end of the project, we will have an end line again. Now we can compare with the baseline what the percentage is now. How can we verify this data? Survey data, focus group discussion. What are the assumptions? There are no additional resources of pollution in the Delta River. So then latrines are maintained by the municipality to ensure they continue to function at the highest quality possible. If these two assumptions are hold true, so we can achieve the goal. The goal is to improve the quality river of water in the Delta River. The indicator is percent reduction in the presence of pollutants in the Delta River. So before resuming the project, we have a test report, quality test report. Now, after implementing the project, we have another quality test report. So this quality test report will verify that what are the percentage of change. In this level, we don't have any assumptions, because the other assumptions where the condition, where the condition to hold true, the next step. So after go, there is no other steps to hold true. to achieve. There are a few logical frame components included in our Delta River example that are important to point out. The first is output 1.2. Local municipality trained in the maintenance of the latrine. This is an output that is directly related to the sustainability of the project. We will discuss sustainability as an output that is directly related to the sustainability of the project. We will discuss sustainability as we move through the guide, but it is important to note that the sustainability of the project and the plan for the continuation of the product or services after the completion of the project is considered even at the earliest stages in the project. The other component you may notice is in the output indicator. 1.1 of latrines constructed within 50 meters of households by the end of phase 2 of the project. This is a gender responsive wash, which is something you may need to consider when you are identifying and defining your project logic. Gender mainstreaming has become common practice in the development and human frame sectors and ensures that we account for the specific needs of all people, focusing on gender equality. Specific methodologies and indicators may need to be incorporated into your project to ensure a gender mainstreaming approach. In this example, the indicator is a standard gender responsive indicator for the wash sector. Experts have established that distance is a huge factor of women and children's ability to access wash facilities, so the latrines should be constructed no further than 50 meters from households. Be aware that the logical framework is a living document and should be updated if any changes are made in the project and through consultation and appropriate approval and justification processes. This is also a tool that can be used in the monitoring and evaluation as well as the planning of the project. Keeping it alive and regularly updated is essential as a move through the project. So one important note for the PMDPro examining is the logical framework, the project logic, whatever it is a live document. We can change it through maintaining an organizational approach and process. So thank you, colleagues, for joining today. Tomorrow we will again sit together to discuss from page 70. I am confident that by 15th of June we can finish the project DPro guide. So thank you very much and stay well. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. Thank you again.